Okay, so we're doing a do-over of Madness and Mayhem that I did on Monday night because everybody said that they couldn't hear me. So I don't know what happened. I did the test and it worked. So I have just had it hopefully working. I'm just going to see whether I'm on Twitter. I'm going to see whether it can hear stuff. I mean, it sounds like you can hear me tapping away, so I'm assuming it's working. Okay, so I don't know what happened. I don't know why there was no sound. It made me really sad and it made me really kind of angry. But we are where we are. And so we've got I'm squeezing you guys in for like an hour. Like I've literally got to be off this by 4:30. But that's okay because it's only supposed to be an hour anyway, this whole show stuff. So this is kind of a relaunch in a way of the things that I used to do. So we're relaunching kind of the point of the shows that I was doing back in 2020. So when I started doing it, was in 2020, was because I could see everybody watching the PsyOps, stressing me out. Sorry guys, I've literally just come from a call, then started this, then I'm going into something else at 4:30. So I was getting stressed out at everybody just getting caught up in the hype and not really seeing what was really going on. So that was the point of doing the calls. And then I kind of just thought everybody got it, everybody understood what was going on. And then that kind of really hasn't been the case. So that's going to be the madness. For the first half an hour will always be the madness. So 2 to 3 PsyOps that are driving me crackers, and then I see everybody else kind of falling into the traps, and then the other half an hour will be kind of pulling something to help you outstep the mayhem, right, that might be caused in your mind. So I'm going to go deep on a specific thing that you can do to help keep your mental health in tip-top condition. Because when we're healthy, particularly when we're mentally healthy, then we aren't going to get brainwashed, right? We're not going to get trapped in the PsyOps and all of that other stuff. So I've got 3 PsyOps for you this week, and we're not going to talk about JFK because that's still kind of unfolding. But I highly recommend you watch Tori Sez's 2.5 hour show on JFK bloodlines, and then absolutely check out I think it's Michael Franzese, ex-mobster. I shared his video this morning. And I really like him. I think he's a great. I like his show. He definitely speaks his mind. He speaks truth, and he kind of gave some really, really interesting insights. I don't know whether it's going to show me. I just want to get his name right because it's a bit bad. Well, that's not right. It's not showing me. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Let's try it again. Sorry. Yes, Michael Franzese. I did get it right. So it's called "This Changes Everything." ... The mob and the CIA knew the truth. And so it's interesting if you watch Tori's show and then watch both of them. I watch both of them. Okay, so first PsyOp we're going to talk about quickly is civil war. So we have to remember that Trump's now in control of the cabal's army. So we have the 3 kind of cabal arms. We've got the Vatican is the religion, so the one religion. Then we have, oh my gosh, my brain stopped working. We have London, so the City of London rather than London. So City of London is the kind of money, the financial arm, and then Washington DC was the weapons and was the army. So all 3 were cabal stranglehold across the world. So with Trump being in charge, they lose access to the army, and we're seeing all that with regards to pulling out of the UN and refusing to give money and making all. So we see all that, right? And this is where Europe is now trying to fill in by now having the European army and being, so basically Europe is, this is why they have done everything they could to get England, UK back into the EU, right? So they need us back in there because there is no access to the American army anymore. So because there's the threat of World War, so World War III, which if we remember 2022, there was a memo that went round American kind of army, like military personnel, saying, you need to be prepared. 2025 is when we're going to go to war with China, right? So it was all kind of being set up to go to war with China or Russia, and either China or Russia nuke the UK stroke America and then blame it on China or Russia. That's everything was kind of leading to that. And we could see non-cabal actually mitigating against those things. So it's really interesting. That memo kind of came out, and then maybe a week or so later, Putin and Xi Jinping came out together to say that they wanted to make sure there were no nukes in space, right? So all of that kind of happened at exactly the same time. Basically them saying, like, fuck, you're going to pin this shit on me, right? There's no way you're pinning this stuff on me. If you nuke your own people, then you nuke your own people. You're not blaming it on us. You're not starting World War III. And obviously we've got Trump in. So Ukraine is now kind of being settled, and Starmer's pretending like he's the one doing it. And the cooperation of the willing and all that bullshit. So we've got Starmer trying to own the fact that obviously all the stuff that Trump's doing, but that's fine. So basically, World War III's not going to happen. So he's going hard after Hamas, hard after Iran. So those countries that have nukes and are likely to use them are being taken out, right? So that they can't blame Russia, they can't blame China, they can't blame Iran. So the threat of World War III is kind of completely diminished until Trump's back out of office, right? So they still need war because 2025 was the designated year for there just being a teeny tiny population. I'm so paranoid. Could you for the few of you who are listening, could you really just tell me that you can see me and hear me, because I'm really paranoid now, because it worked for me but it might not be working for other people. So what was I going to say? Just type a message, be like, I can't actually hear you, Kate. If I'm not going nuts. So we've got Trump. So they need the war, right? They need the war. And it drives me crackers that people can't see this is the reason for all of the division, right? So the non-stop importing of the illegals. We've got conscription. So why is that important? Because it's the fighting age English people and Scottish people and Welsh people who are conscripted to go fight abroad, leaving the country even more up the shitter, right? So we already have a diminished armed forces. They're going to conscript all the other people, and then it just makes it easier, right? They have to do whatever they can to destabilize every single country and every stronghold of people who are free, free on paper. So what are we seeing them do, right? They stopped winter fuel payments, they're increasing taxes for business, they're stripping benefits, they're stripping PIP. We've had Wednesday is another day where the Chancellor kind of says is we're not going to pay you this, we're not going to pay you this. If you've been working really hard, you're not going to have a pension, you're not going to be able to feed yourself, you can't get access to the NHS, you can't do any of these things. But if you jump on a dinghy, we're going to give you everything. Even if you have been raping and abusing people back in your own country, it doesn't matter. You can be a proud whatever religion you are over there, and I'm going to say whatever religion because it's kind of irrelevant. because it's not all the same religion who are doing these things. It's just violent criminals in other countries who have a very different way of living. And it's not even okay in their country, right? Which is why they escape. But anyway, so violent criminals in other countries who come over and then are violent criminals, right? And they are being let off for other crimes. They're raping little girls and then saying that they're gay, so they can't go back home because they'll be murdered for being a homosexual. And if you're a man raping a little girl, then that in itself proves you're not a homosexual. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's all ludicrous. It's all been designed to do this to just piss you off, right? So it's being done on purpose, and people really need to see this. They are giving billions and billions and billions for illegals. They are giving billions and billions and more billions for the Ukraine. They're pushing. So the other thing they're doing, and that people can't see or won't see or refuse to see, I would say refuse to see, is the whole Israel-Palestine thing, right? So the reason why organizations that we see, so mainstream media organizations are pushing the fact that, Israel can do no wrong, is not because they believe Israel can do no wrong, and it's not because they're all, it's all the Jews, all of that bullshit. It's because it's designed to piss you off. Like that's it. It's just designed to piss you off, but it's also designed to piss off the Muslims and people who are in Palestine, and it's also designed to piss off the lefties, right? So it's purposeful. None of this is just accidental. And anybody saying it's this religion, it's this religion, it's this religion, it's this specific country, it's not. There's a group of individuals, there's the puppet masters, and their job is to divide people, because when people are divided, they're weak, right? Everything they're doing is to divide. So if you can see two really clear narratives, and all the dissenters and anybody like Trump, who just says the killing needs to stop, right? Everybody needs to just stop fucking killing each other. He's ridiculed. I do not agree with what happened on October 7th. I read some of the all parliamentary report, and it is horrific. Absolutely horrific, some of the things that happened that was done to another human being. But that doesn't make it okay for then, people in Israel to do the exact same thing to people in Gaza, right? Like, neither one of those things was okay. And unless people are saying that, then they're part of the controlled opposition, or they are the opposition, right? Either way, unless they are acknowledging the fact that no, women do not deserve to be brutalized because they're Jewish, but we also don't need to brutalize women because they're Muslim, right? Because they're on the other side of the wall. Like neither one of those things, okay? And that's whether it's women, children, or men, or innocent civilians. And there are innocent civilians on all sides, and we have. And I say we the West, we have created the terrorist organizations, and we have funded them, and we have radicalized them, right? So if you are going to teach a child to hate, and you propagandize a child, this is why children are groomed, is because they're an easy target. So if you're going to propagandize and you are going to teach a child to hate, it will hate, right? That's what we did, that because we needed them, because not, and I say we, it's the West, it is the cabal. The cabal needed them because they needed a threat. You can't put sweeping powers in place unless you have something that's threatening, right? So it was purposeful for them. We have to make sure that we are not we have to make sure that we are not unduly these people have been groomed, right? They've been groomed. They've been brainwashed. They are doing horrific things because they believe it's right. And they have been shaped into believing that because the cabal needed them to be vicious and violent, right? So same way that probably your parents and friends and family told you that you were selfish and you were killing granny because you didn't have a vaccine, right? So look how easy people were brainwashed by the state over COVID. And now imagine that was done relentlessly since you were a child. Like, you have to have compassion for the people who are the terrorists, because they weren't born that way. They were made that way, and they were made that way because the cabal needed them to be like that, right? So their lives are as heartbreakingly destroyed as the people that they are harming. Okay, so imagine that you are somebody who believes you're doing all of these things because it's going to put you on this big religious pedestal, or for whichever religion. I don't believe in any religion. I think they're all methods of control. And if you watch the brainwashing masterclass, you'll see like why that's true. But could you then imagine finding out that everything you've ever believed in, and then you've committed extreme atrocities because of that belief? So it was hard enough for me to realize everything I believed in was bullshit. Imagine realizing everything you believed in was bullshit and you have committed awful atrocities because of those beliefs. Right. So similarly, all the doctors who jabbed everybody, once they realized it was all a con and it was bullshit and they were assassins in white coats, which I have been saying for 5 years, they're assassins in white coats. Imagine being somebody who signed up to help and heal, to find out that you had been mass murdering people, like to find out that Harold Shipman actually had nothing on you. Right. Imagine being that person. Right. We do not need to victimize them. They the shit that they're going to have to deal with when they realize is just, it is the only thing we should be doing is praying for everybody. But we have to remember, so going back to that video I did, oh my gosh, it must have been 4 years ago now. Whose plan, right? What were the plans with regards to bring about the New World Order? So war, nuclear or civil, and or both, right? So when you see all the things that they're doing purposely, two-tier Britain, when you see all of those things, like, it's not by accident. It's not because they don't like you. They don't care about any person. Right? If you're not bloodline, you're not part of the group, they don't like you at all whatsoever. The people who are coming in the boats are the useful idiots, right? So they are being used and manipulated to cause division, and they are being used specifically to make people in whichever country they're being flooded into to react, to start civil war. Right? Because then you get martial law, then you get lockdown, then you get sweeping powers, then we get ID chips. And they did a show, like an actual TV program show 15 years ago, talking through the exact thing, like literally step by step by step, which is how they got ID chips in, right, to people in the UK. And I shared it again. I watched it again recently and I shared it, and I bet people didn't bother watching it. And this is why you guys, many of you are surprised by what's going on. Okay, so PsyOps number 2, which is really kind of just pissing me off, is the reform bullshit. So anybody who thought reform was like good people, like I've been saying since the beginning, oh my God, like it was clearly designed to split the right, and the Conservatives were the Conservatives being fucking retards was designed to stop people voting Conservative, right? So we have to remember that the pretense around Conservatives and the right means that they can't do the things that Labour are doing, right, with regards to nationalising things and all of the stuff, that there's no way a Conservative government could do it. So they had to make sure the Conservative government did not get in. They also had to guarantee that Labour would be in power, right? That's why there was 2 coups. So Bojo was kicked out, even though he was a cokehead. Then we had Liz Truss kicked out. And then they just implanted Rishi, who everybody hated, right? Because they needed to tank the Conservatives. So what did they then do is we had Reform appeared. We had that other party that I always call him Lewis from the TV show, whoever he is, the actor who pretends that he was vilified. That guy, who's old money, who's part of the group, is an actor, right? He's an actual actor, and people believe him. And you're like, oh my God, he's an actual actor. But okay. So we had all of these little parties pop up to try and grab everybody on the right, because they needed to make sure Labour was in power, because they needed to ensure that, which is also why the general election was moved, because it had to happen before Trump. They had to completely destroy and crash the UK, right? Because they have to get us back in Europe. So with regards to reform, it was always designed to fuck with the right. And it was always a sheep in wolf's clothing. Always a sheep in wolf's clothing. So the fact that people are shocked makes me think you just weren't ever paying attention. So also, for some reason, everybody forgotten that Nigel Farage was pushing for Brexit. Brexit happened and then he just disappeared, right? So yes, he said he had attempts on his life, but why would anybody try to kill him after Brexit? Because Brexit's done, right? So if, like, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, also, we had Reform was doing well, and then he randomly took over just before the election, right? And what happened at that exact time? So both left and right were leaving the main parties and going to Reform. Reform was actually, and I think this is what took them by surprise, was both left and right were leaving. So what did they have to do? They had to drop Nigel Farage in, because they needed to make sure that the lefties didn't vote for Reform, right? If they had not had Nigel Farage at the front of Reform, there's a good chance Reform would have done really fucking well. Really well. And they didn't do too badly, but they would have done really well. They'd have cleaned up. And they couldn't have that. And the reason they couldn't have that is because the majority of the people who were standing as Reform candidates were actual real people. So that's what you can't have. They needed the fake party, and they needed the fake party to be seen as psychos and all, you know, Nazis, even though Nazi means National Socialist Party. But we skip over the fact that the Nazis were socialists. They just weren't communists, right? So that was what was going on. There was communists fighting socialists because they had a different view on what you should be doing with regards to controlling your population, right? Neither of those are right. So it drives me crackers that everybody says, like, you're a Nazi because you're fucking on the right. The Nazis were left. They were socialists. It was literally called National Socialist Party just because they weren't Marxists and communists. It doesn't mean they weren't left. They weren't fucking on the left, right? So if anybody's a Nazi, it's fucking Keir Starmer. Well, I mean, he's a commie, to be fair. Anyway. So for some reason, everybody thinks Nazis are far right. And obviously Farage is, maybe he is a Nazi, right? Because he's actually a socialist. But we also have to remember during COVID, he was pushing Tony Blair being in charge of all of the vaccines. So how anybody thought he just, one day he's pushing Tony Blair, the next day he's a freedom fighter? Not. And we have Rupert Lowe, who stands with Ukraine, who thinks we're doing everything right with Ukraine. I mean, people who are MPs are selected to be there. You don't get on the you can't be an MP unless you've paid in, and it's not always money you pay in, right? Because you can't be somebody who's uncontrollable. So back in 2014, I was a campaign manager for the Conservative Party. In 2015, I had 2 MPs elected, right? And both of those MPs ended up being a little bit outspoken. They weren't as easily controlled. I mean, it doesn't mean they were good people necessarily, but they weren't as easily controlled. So they had the whip removed and they were told that they were not allowed to speak in Parliament, right? And if they did say something, they had the whip removed and they were told they weren't allowed to do anything, right? So if you are a good person who happens to sit through the net and be elected, is you won't be able to do anything. So the only people who are elected and they are selected to be there, every single party is controlled. And if it's not controlled right now, it will be if it starts gaining traction, because they can't hold power. They can't be in control unless they are actually in control. So it's not just they control both sides of the narrative. They control every single fucking side, right? Because if they don't control every side, they will lose. Which is why we have to unite. Like, there shouldn't be sides over these things. However, I still state the only way to save the country is to by stand, and this is any country, is stop aligning with the fucking political party and start standing for the people that live in your area, right? Be independent. And that's what really fucked shit up with regards to my town at the local elections in 2023, because there was loads of people standing as independents, right? It actually terrified the parties, because we also got shitloads of votes. And had we realized so many of us were standing, we wouldn't have all stood, right? And so then we would have had independents on the council. And we actually did have some independents on the council, but those independents were fake independents, right? So even the independent candidates are, in Telford specifically, there were actually Labour supporters who pretended that they were independent. But you should be independent. You should be working for the people in your town. And that's it. That's how we make sure the country's run properly. We do not need mayorships at all. We do not need a devolution of power at all. We need, and this is similarly will be the same thing that's across other countries, is we need the legislative branch to get back in their fucking boxes. We do not vote for the person to be in the office writing laws and writing like 400-page documents that they have 24 hours to decide whether they're voting on it or not. That's not how democracy works. The people decide what they want, and the MP takes that to Parliament, and Parliament decide whether it's going to go through or not, and then the legislative branch make it happen. It's been going the other way, and so it's literally Parliament and our MPs have no control over what's happening, and this is what people don't realise, and it's starting to be known. Okay, so basically, Nigel Farage was a shill, and I've been saying it for ages. Rupert Lowe is a shill, I've been saying it for ages. Andrew Bridgen is a fucking shill, and I've been saying it for ages, right? Like, all of these people. So I was one of tens of thousands of people who was telling the MPs consistently, repeatedly via email, across social media. I got banned from everybody's fucking social medias because I kept telling them about how dangerous these vaccines were, kept telling them that COVID was not what they were saying it was, piling on the facts. And that was in March, April, May, June, July, August, September in 2020. Right. So anybody who came out in 2022 saying they didn't realise and they were an MP is just fucking lying, because people like me have got a train of fucking evidence telling them we told you over and over and over again. I also know people who were Andrew Bridgen's constituents, who have got email proof that they've had conversations with him and him saying that they're just spreading conspiracy theories. So the fact that he came out and said that he didn't know about it is a lie, right? And if you're lying, then you're completely untrustworthy. Right? If you randomly decided in 2020, oh, these are bad because somebody I know got ill, right? Then you have the balls to come out and say, I didn't believe the people. I didn't believe the people who were telling me. I'm sorry. Now I believe you. You don't just say, I didn't know, because you did know, and you got no fucking leg to stand on, right? So start paying attention to. Reform is just full of bullshit. All of the parties are bullshit, right? People need to be independent, and that's how we save our country, and that's how you save your country, whichever country you're in. So the third PsyOp that's really driving me crackers is the fact that maybe a week ago now, Keir Starmer came out and said the ECHR must not hold the power in the UK, and we've fought this battle 3 times in the space of the last 5 years that it's exhausting. And I mean, we fought it lawfully through channels, through the consultation process. We've had this blocked multiple times, right? And so now they're coming round again. They're coming back round again. And this does feed back into the civil war, right? So every time an illegal person rapes a child, and I'm going to say an illegal person rapes a child because this is what is being used to sow division, and they are being let off, right? Just, you're not even getting a community service. You're being let off for this thing because you didn't know it was illegal in this country, right? That was what one person got let off with. And then they're saying, oh, it's because the European Court of Human Rights said so. The European Court of Human Rights has got no jurisdiction in the UK at all. It never has done, even when we were in Europe. And this is where they got caught out during the last Bill of Rights, right? So they were lying in the Bill of Rights, saying that the European Court of Human Rights is above our Human Rights Act. It doesn't. International law states that state law is supreme. So Labour fucked up by creating the Human Rights Act, because as soon as it was on the statute book, that became an actual law that the country has to abide by. I mean, they backtracked a bit later by saying we will try, and Parliament can always undo laws that they've done, right? But there's no way they could turn around and be like, yeah, well, we're scrapping the Human Rights Act. What they had to do is they have to prove that every new legislation or piece of law is compatible, and if it's not compatible, why is it not compatible, right? So how can I stand here and tell you with like all confidence that the ECHR does not dictate what we do? Well, the only thing you need to look at is the actual facts of things like our terrorism laws, which states we can hold people up to 28 days with no conviction, with no charge, right? So the ECHR and the European Court said that that was unlawful, and our government went, tough shit. The other reason we can prove 100% what we do in the UK is supreme is the fact that the ECHR said that prisoners have to have a vote, and our government went, fuck you, right? So if they were supreme, then those two things wouldn't be standing. Right. So people need to get out of their own arseholes and start paying attention to what's actually going on, and paying attention to the times when what you're being peddled by the media is easily provable false, right? It's easily proven false by the things that we have on our statute book that the ECHR is not above. Also, all of the fake lawsuits that are put in, they don't cite the Human Rights Act. And the reason they don't cite the Human Rights Act is because they'd win, right? And they don't want to win. It's sham trials. So even just looking at Julian Assange, right? If they'd have used the Human Rights Act, he would not have been he wouldn't have been in prison. And that's not me saying this flippantly. He quite literally wouldn't have been in prison, because the Human Rights Act states, and Article 2, there's no right to liberty. I think it's Article 2. You only have your liberty removed if you've been convicted, right? So the government had no right to stop you going out during the lockdowns because you haven't been convicted of a crime. Right. So there was no way they could do it, but people were too stupid to use the laws that they actually have. But with regards to Julian Assange, they used the European Court of Human Rights. They used the European Human Rights Act, and they didn't use the normal Human Rights Act. They had never charged him. And this is the same as people who are on remand, right? Remand without no proof, no conviction. This is against the law. He was also being tortured, and they never pursued that, right? So there was loads of things that they could have done with his case that's proven effective and to work. And they also could have used all of the laws that are used by all of the illegals to get off from being sent back home, right? And they never used those things. So the Julian Assange stuff was complete sham. And I'm going to say it again, Stella Assange is 100% a honey trap, 100%. And I feel bad for Julian, but she's 100% the same as Jackie Onassis was. And Jackie Kennedy. She's an asset. So WikiLeaks was doing damage and waking people up, so he has to be eliminated. And so they assassinated his character. They tried assassinating him, the person. You want to tell me you don't think they fucking honeypotted him? Like, come on. And I still feel bad for the guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel bad for the guy. He's got children. It's bad. But if you read the lawsuits and you read their argument, they didn't do any of the things they could have done and he would have been out. Didn't do any of it at all. Okay. So that is the madness side done with. Like I say, we will do JFK, but I'm just kind of like sitting to see kind of some other stuff surface. And I haven't had a play on Grok yet. And if you aren't on Twitter, I recommend you get on Twitter, well, X, because Grok 3 is free. Now it's free for everyone, and it became free just as the JFK files are about to land. But also there is a specific, so you can literally just ask Grok to search through the JFK files, which in my mind means that they must have been uploading them all to his back end, right? And Grok's a guy to me. So they must be, because otherwise Grok can't read them. Grok can only read like files that you upload. It can't read websites. So they must be, anything that they are releasing must be getting uploaded into Grok. So there's literally a Grok search engine for the JFK files. So I want to have a little dig in there first. But we will talk JFK maybe next week. Okay, but so drop me a message if you see any kind of PsyOps that are just getting out of control. So basically the best way to spot a PsyOp is if you can see like two very clear narratives and no people are being like normal. So with Palestine, Israel, people are either saying that Israel's right and everybody in Palestine should be eradicated, or everybody's saying people in Palestine are right and everybody in Israel should be eradicated. Like, nobody should be eradicated. Nobody should be genocided at all. Right? Just nobody deserves to be genocided. Okay, so we're going to move on to the second half of the show. We're going to talk about the mayhem side, so how to avoid the mind mayhem. And we're going to talk about a superfood that the real superfood. So we're going to talk about eggs, and I've literally giving you word for word info from my very in-depth basically how to be a happy healthy human manual that all of my clients who I work one-to-one with get, right? So I will probably freestyle a little bit, and then I've also got some 10 things that you can do with eggs, right? So you're going to learn why eggs, I believe, are the superfoods, and you can just move over plant-based bullshit food, and why we're going to go egg is the ultimate superfood. So let me just find the right link. Okay, so eggs are an incredible whole food which has unfortunately been cast aside by many due to faux science. So no rigorously tested research has ever shown that eating eggs increases our body's plasma cholesterol. So cholesterol is actually really important. It is one of the base constituent properties that our sex hormones use, so that's estrogen, testosterone and progesterone, and whether you're male or female, you have both of those, you just have them in different amounts. But so it's also a key part of our immune system. So the reason why eggs have been vilified is because they are, well, as you'll see, they are like a truly superfood. Also, this explains why it's £10 for 6 eggs in the USA. It also fits into why avian flu is being pushed, and all the birds are being culled, and you can't even have your own chickens in the UK without registering them. And it's basically, if you could just eat eggs, you would be fine, right? If that was the only food you could get access to, you would live a happy, healthy life, mostly. I mean, you would probably like be a little bit constipated, but you would get all the minerals that you need. Okay, so the whole egg contains over 1,000 different types of protein in the yolk, white and shell. So I don't recommend eating the shell. I mean, you can if you want to. some people do, but I am not in for the whole crunch. And if I end up making scrambled eggs and there's a bit of shell in there, I get very disappointed and upset. So the egg is also vitamin rich, having high amounts of every single vitamin except vitamin C. So if you just lived on eggs, the only vitamin you'd need to supplement was vitamin C. Everything else you can get enough from the egg. So eating 2 eggs a day gives you between 10 and 30% of your necessary daily vitamin requirements. So obviously if you had 6 eggs a day, that's it, that's you done, right? Pretty much. Potentially. So the yolk contains A, D, E, K, B1, B2, B5, B6, B9, and B12. And the white contains B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B9, and B12, which is why you need to eat both, right? You can't just eat one and not the other. There's also another reason why you want to eat both. A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. And that means you need fat in order for your body to take the vitamins and minerals out of it, whereas B vitamins are water soluble. But if you are only eating the yolk, you're not going to be getting A, D, E, and K, right? Your body won't absorb it. You'll just shit it out. They also contain calcium, choline, copper, iodine, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, sodium, and zinc. Zinc is a powerful antiviral and antioxidant. It literally blocks viral replication. Right. So if you've got a sore throat or, you're struggling with Rona related complications, you want to be having zinc, but synthetic zinc is not the same as food-based zinc. So anything in a food is far more bioavailable, and that basically means how easy it is for your body to take the vitamins and minerals from it. And actually, eggs are the only food which are 100% bioavailable, which means when you eat an egg, your body utilizes the entire thing. It's the only food on the planet, which makes sense, and it's always made sense to me because, you have an egg and then it becomes an animal. Right. And so obviously we're just eating chicken eggs, but actually if you have a snake egg, it becomes an animal. If you have a human egg, it becomes a human. So eggs, like everything in that egg, like it's perfect. But bird eggs are 100% bioavailable. I'm not too sure about snake eggs. Never looked into it. Selenium is a core component in serotonin. Serotonin is the base hormone that our body needs to heal. It's often known as like the happy hormone, but actually it's the one that makes sure that your immune system on. It's the one that ensures that you are happy. Yes, you're happy, but it's the one that ensures that your immune system's on and that you're healing. Unless you have the components you need, you can't release serotonin and you can't heal, you can't feel good. So 90% of the serotonin is made in the gut, only 10% is made in the brain, and it's released when your gut senses these specific microbes in your gut that senses this food, and that's when serotonin is released. But if you don't have tryptophan and you're not doing all the rest of it, you won't even release it anyway, right? So we're just focusing on eggs. We can get to the other stuff because we're only on episode 1, even though it's a repeat of Madness and Mayhem. So the egg also contains a substantial amount of choline, and choline is fucking phenomenal and something that people really don't talk about. So give me 2 secs. I'm just going to go to choline because most of you are probably like, I don't even know what that is. Here we go. I want to give you the science rather than just random stuff. So choline is an essential nutrient created in small amounts in our bodies, but the vast majority needs to come from food. Choline positively impacts liver function, healthy brain development, memory, muscle movement, nervous system, and metabolism. It's essential to make the fat, which supports the structural integrity of your cell membranes. It also produces the necessary compounds which act as cell messengers, creating a substance which removes cholesterol from your liver. So rather than eggs being bad, the amount of choline in there actually stops cholesterol buildup in your liver. So working in conjunction with vitamins B9 and B12, it helps to synthesize your DNA and is required to create acetylcholine, which is a crucial neurotransmitter. So choline, so the egg enables your body to synthesize your DNA and create your neurotransmitters, because both B9 and B12 are in the egg as well as the choline, right? So that's why eggs are just the best. And if I do not convince you to make eggs a part of your diet, then I will be very upset because they're just phenomenal. Okay, so the egg whites do not contain any fat, right? This is why, so like I said, A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. So you have to have the white in order to make sure that you utilize, you have to have the egg, you have to have the yolk and the yolk and the white. There we go. So the whites contain 150 unique proteins and tribacterial lysozyme, which is something that's used as an anti-infectious agent in many pharmaceuticals and as a food preservative. So this is why eggs, you can have a pickled egg and it'll last forever, right? So the lack of fat in the egg white means that unless you eat the whole egg, your body will be unable to utilize the fat-soluble vitamins and mineral benefits contained in the egg white. So eggs are so powerful that the yolk antibodies effectively neutralize the spike protein in SARS-CoV-2 and protect against the spike protein binding to our ACE2 receptors. And the ACE2 receptor is the primary entry point of SARS-CoV-2 into our bodies. So by blocking this receptor, you effectively block COVID from causing you harm. So it stops COVID. So it will block the spike protein from binding to your ACE2 receptor. But also, if you weren't taking the eggs and you got the spike protein had already bound, you can eat the egg and it will stop it replicating and it will just naturally die out and be killed off, right? And that's taken from a study from a guy who literally ate eggs and cured himself he was really, really unwell with COVID, like should have been hospitalized, and he just ate eggs because he knew eggs were amazing. And he fixed himself. So eggs have been shown to have antioxidant, anti-cancerous, anti-inflammatory, anti-hypersensitive, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and anti-parasitic properties, making them a truly superfood. They literally are phenomenal. So it doesn't just stop COVID. It's like any kind of virus or bacterial infection and parasitic infection and fungal infection. So all of those things, right? Antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and antiparasitic. It's also antioxidant. That's it is. So if you've got lots of oxidants, it messes with your brain. Oh wait a minute, oh my gosh, panicked. I thought I did something wrong with my words. I deleted something. So basically, when you have, so it's called free radicals, and these are basically they just cause disharmony. It means it reduces the amount of free radicals. So if you think about people use like vitamin E, they'll use vitamin E, but obviously E's in the egg, right? So rather than taking a vitamin E supplement or a CoQ10 supplement, eat an egg. It's cheaper, right? Even at £6, even at £10 for 6, it's still cheaper than the supplements, probably. Anti-cancerous and anti-inflammatory, right? So they genuinely are. So interestingly, some bioactive peptides, and so peptides are amino acid components which are produced after breaking down the peptide or protein into its individual building blocks, are only generated after boiling. So some of the peptides are only generated after boiling, and boiling also makes them more easily digestible. And therefore, if you've got you have a child, or maybe you're hypersensitive to eggs, boil them, and it makes them less. You'll be less sensitive to them. So on the flip side, selenium and vitamin A content does reduce after cooking, but that's okay because you can get vitamin A and selenium in other things as well, right? But this means you have to have both hard-boiled eggs and eggs with a runny yolk to gain all the nutritional benefits. To increase your vitamin, mineral, and nutrient content, ensure that you buy eggs which have been well fed and looked after, or try adding duck or goose eggs, which have a moderately higher concentration of all the vitamins and minerals and a significantly higher amount of vitamin B12. And vitamin B12 is like vital for mental wellness with regards to brain functioning and all of those things. And you cannot get natural vitamin B12 unless it is like animal based. I don't mean by animal based, I mean like actual meat or dairy or eggs. Right, so it's not if you don't eat meat or meat-based products, then you will only ever be taking synthetic synthetic vitamin B12, and the synthetic vitamins are never as good, like ever. They're just not. Okay, so that is eggs. And what I did was I asked Grok to come up with, because I will just like make scrambled eggs, right? So, but obviously that's quite boring. Or I'll just boil some eggs and I'll just like have a couple of eggs. So it's quite boring. So I just asked Grok because I was it was quite late on Monday, when I was just like, oh shit, I want to make sure that people have got some egg-based recipes, and so Grokked them. Okay, so we've got 10 different things you can do with eggs. Now that I've hopefully just convinced you they should be a daily staple diet. Just so FYI, like, we feed our dogs eggs. We don't give them any kind of supplements. They're on raw food. So we buy the vegetables. They get like 5 different vegetables, and we like change the veggies, and they have them like chopped up. We go in a blender. Not a blender, food processor, and they get a little bit of veg mixed in with their meat. They also get eggs, varying amounts depending on their size. They have half olive oil, half salmon oil with frankincense oil in that goes on their food. They have seaweed stuff that gets thrown on there because that gets rid of the plaque. They have kefir. I make them kefir. So if I put, and lots of people will do loads of things to their animals, but they don't do lots of things for themselves, right? So we use eggs because we don't use, we won't pay £30 every, I would say, week to buy You Move or other kind of supplements are available for joints and stuff, right? Why would I encourage my human people to use an egg when I'm not going to give it the dogs? Right, and vice versa. Why would I give it the dogs if I'm not going to eat it myself? So if you've got dogs who have raw food, I highly recommend throwing an egg on their dinner as well. And bone broth and all of that stuff. Okay, so what can you do with eggs? So hard-boiled eggs, boil a batch for the week. I wouldn't do it for a week. I mean, now we do 2 to 3 days, right? Eggs get a bit stinky if they're left. They're portable, perfect for snacks or tossing into salads, and cooking them this way preserves their nutrients without added fats. I mean, I wouldn't worry about added fats, because like when you cook in fat, you like, if you're using butter, like, so never cook in oil. It's toxic, it's rancid. You cook your food in butter. It tastes amazing. If you've never had eggs cooked in butter, oh my gosh, it's just delightful. But I would maybe only do 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't do an entire, like, even 5 days worth. Like, you'll open the lid on your pot and it'll be like, what? So I wouldn't bother, but you do 2 or 3 days. And for me, my perfect egg time, so have the water boiled, and then have them in there for 8 minutes, and then take the hot water off, and then cool them down, and then peel them. And so they haven't gone grey. Like, when they go grey, you've probably like boiled them with an inch of, like, there's probably no vitamins and minerals left, right? And under 8 minutes seems to make them a bit gross. Okay, so poached eggs, gently poach them in water, no oil needed, and serve on, I mean, he says toast and spinach. I wouldn't bother with the toast at all. And spinach, I don't really like spinach, but you can if you want, right? You get a soft runny yolk full of goodness with extra calories. If I'm doing poached egg, I will do it with jerky or maybe some cheese. So I'm 80% carnivore, just so you guys know. You're like, why is she just like binning off all these vegetables? And I've never really liked vegetables, right? So when carnivore diet came out, I was like, oh look, I was ahead of the curve. I just didn't really like vegetables or salad. So I do fruit. I do lots of fruit because fruit is good for your, it's full of fiber. It helps your insides go. So scrambled eggs with veggies. So whisk them up with chopped peppers, tomatoes or kale. Use non-stick pan with minimal. Don't use a non-stick pan. Don't use olive oil. Sorry, Grok, you got it wrong there. Be careful with tomatoes, right? They're part of the deadly nightshade family. So tomatoes and peppers, so be careful. But just use a lot. If you use a cast iron pan, you need to use quite a bit of butter. I mean, like, quite a bit, like a lot. But whenever you use cast iron, what happens is you it increases the iron content. So you can get cast iron with a coating. So it doesn't have to be like, so I've got different types of cast iron pans. So you can get and it's not like a non-stick coating, but it's just like not straight onto and yeah, so just be careful. But you will need to use like a lot more butter. Egg muffins, and this, I quite like this idea, but I would change it. So mix eggs with diced veggies and a bit of cheese and bake in the muffin tin. These are grab and go, high protein breakfast that sneak in extra fiber and vitamins. So what I would do is eggs, cheese, and maybe like strips of steak, or maybe with mincemeat, or maybe sausage. I love sausages, so maybe some sausages. That sounds quite good, but I wouldn't do vegetables. Omelette with herbs. Whip up a quick omelette with dill, parsley, or chives. No heavy toppings. Just let the eggs shine with a boost of antioxidants from the herbs. So I'm going to try this because I've got parsley. I've got dill in the fridge because we bought some the other day for the tortoise. So he's not going to eat it all. I will give it a quick go and I will let you know how it goes. Egg salad with Greek yogurt. I've got Greek yogurt and I'm going to try this tomorrow. Mash hard-boiled eggs with Greek yogurt instead of mayo. Add some mustard and spices. And he says spread it on whole grain bread. I wouldn't. That sounds disgusting. But, you know, if you want to give it a go, high protein, low fat and probiotic. Steamed egg custard. So a silky, savoury option. Steam eggs with a splash of broth or water and a pinch of salt. It's gentle on the stomach and keeps the nutrients intact. So have a steamer. But it kind of sounds like poached egg in a... if you have like an egg machine, that's kind of steams it. I don't know. Anyway, baked eggs in avocado. I've done this before and it was all right. So I will tell you what I do instead. So scoop out a little bit of the avocado, crack an egg into it and bake. You've got healthy fats from the avocado paired with the egg's protein, super satisfying. It does taste really nice, but actually when I did it, it didn't really work very well. What I think you're better doing is you don't necessarily need to bake the avocado, right? It doesn't need cooking. It is fry up the eggs and then have egg and avocado. Right? It's a lot less hassle, it's a lot less stressful, less cleaning, and it tastes the same, right? It doesn't alter the like cooked avocado tastes the same as raw avocado. I thought, oh, this is quite a nice idea, but cooked egg is like weird and rubbery. Like it wasn't. That wasn't enjoyable, but do you. Egg drop soup. So swirl beaten eggs into simmering broth with ginger and green onions. And green onions really confused me on Monday night. I was like, what the fuck's a green onion? But I'm guessing he means spring onions. So ginger and spring onion, that sounds really nice. A light hydrating way to enjoy eggs with anti-inflammatory bonuses from the extra add-ons. So that sounds like a super one to do. And ginger is really good for your stomach as well. So it sounds like it's a super digesty type one. And onions absolutely are anti-inflammatory. And they're great antivirals as well. So that sounds like a perfect thing to do if you're feeling a little bit under the weather. And then finally, number 10, fritter with greens. So bake a mix of eggs, spinach or arugula. I don't even know what arugula is, by the way, with a sprinkle of feta. Slice it up for meals all week. It's loaded with the vitamins and minerals and no frying needed. And again, I wouldn't do it all week, maybe 2 or 3 days. Maybe spinach, maybe not, depending on the day. I mean, I eat a little bit of vegetables, but I don't eat lots of vegetables. And you have to be careful with spinach because it's can interfere with your sex hormones. It's got lots of endocrine disruptors in there. Oh, it looks like so arugula is like Brussels sprouts, kale, okay, so it's a brassica. I don't know. I still don't know what it is. A peppery green vegetable. Oh, it kind of looks like rocket on the images. Is it the same thing? It looks like the same thing. And rocket, are they the same thing? Oh, it looks like loads of other people have asked. Oh, they're similar. Okay, so it is. It's rocket. Okay. Okay, so oh, I like grow rocket. Okay, so we grow rocket for the tortoise. So I've got rocket. I might do a bit of rocket. I don't mind rocket. It's quite nice. But spinach, I think when you cook spinach, it's just like slime in it. Anyway, okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this rerun of Mayhem and Madness, episode 1. And hopefully the sound is working for everybody when you kind of watch it on the replay. I look forward to a without rerun version on Monday at 7. Spot a PsyOp that is driving you crackers, just whiz me a message, and I look forward to kind of digging into it. And again, we'll go through 2 to 3 PsyOps on Monday, and then I will go in depth on something that you can use to help protect your mind from the mayhem. Thank you so much for randomly joining me on a Wednesday lunchtime. It's been amazing. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.